Welcome to part 14. I do apologise about the intro. I couldn't quite get it right. I did try my best, but I'm not a producer, as you well know. So there you go. Anyway, so we're on to building the bottom wing, which is page 33, and it says locate BWLER, blah 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 blah. All these parts come from sheet 14, which are on here, and BWT2 from sheet 15, which are the ends here, BWLTE, which is the trailing edges, and R1. So all the ribs are R1, which we took out at the beginning and put together and sanded them all at the same time so they're all uniform. So referring to the plan, dry assemble 16 R1 ribs into the front, middle and lower rear spars, BWRLS and BWRRS. BWRRS is, let's see if I can find it. I don't know, give it the will to live. BWRRS. Well, it's on there somewhere. BWRR. Here it is. So BWRRS is that trailing spar. Dry assemble right hand, upper, lower, middles. BWRMS carefully. So what they're saying is this middle bit that you made, well, you should have made at the beginning of the text on the subject. So that goes into there like that. Okay. What does it say then? Dry assemble the right hand upper part of the middle spar carefully into the lower middle ribs, then assemble the left hand upper part of the middle part BWLMS, which is the one I just taken out, into the ribs and spar. Pin the wing assembly to the plan, ensuring that it is square. Add the leading and trailing edge parts BWEL, BWLER and BWLTE, BWRTE to the ribs and pin down. So BWLER, BWLEL is the leading part of the wing, and the others are the trailing. So let's see, BWRTE, that's that one. BWLTE is that one, so that's a trailing edge there and the leading edge there. And this wing assembly is in fact a lot simpler than the top or the middle. Okay, so we're going to pin that down, ready for wicking in. So I'm going to grab my pins, and I'm going to do my utmost to get this absolutely spot on to the drawing. So there you go. So it'll be all nice and square. Now I have already rubbed off all the brown burnt parts from when they laser cut this thing, so it'll save me doing it after the assembly. Or at least that's the plan. Let's get this in right. That's the leading edge in. Let's do the same to the trailing edge. Make sure it's all pushed to, that these front of the ribs are right in, and that then comes right, and we can put in the trailing edge. So I'm just pushing forward slightly on this. There we go. There we are. Line line that one up, make sure all the front of the ribs are in. Okay, that brings it rather nicely. Pin that in. There you go. That's in. Now, I'm going to square everything up, make sure. It's usually the ends that are the troublesome ones. Make sure that that's it, that goes in there, and that goes in there. And I think it's worth putting a pin in. Probably go through the middle of that hole, I think. That should hold it down. Yep, there you go. And that should, by rights, neatly go in there. Now you'll notice that you're watching this from a different angle today. It's because I'm using a different camera mount because the drawing's at the bottom here, so it's closer to me, and doing it from this angle it just wouldn't work. So that's what that's all about. So all you got to do now is just make sure everything's lined up and as it should be. We've got a decenter here. Why is he not behaving himself? He's not a happy bunny. For some reason. Where's my tweezers gone? Here they are. I'll just have to hold that one in when I glue it. Got a naughty boy there. And another naughty, but it's always on the ends. Always on the ends. They don't want to conform, they think they know better. Okay, check these ends. Right, now that should be ready. Make sure that all the ends are in, all the fronts are in. Okay, now I think it's going to tell us to wick everything in. Let's see what the book says. Right, pin assembly to the plan, ensuring it's quite square at the leading and trailing edges. Referring to the plan assembly, the wing tips, which are these and these, BWT to the ends of the wing, which we have done. Turn the page. Refer to the plan, pin parts BWSD. Well, this is BWST. These are obviously the wing joiners. Now they show a centre dotted line on there, and they have to go this side of the spar, and see another dotted line. And I would suggest that lining these up is just as important as lining up the other ones, because there's probably going to be a jig or something involved here at some point, and so they should go like that. Now let's see what it says next. Don't forget, nothing here has been glued yet. The rear part, the front and middle spars, using the etch lines to ensure that they are correctly located in the centre of these spars. Check that everything is square and parts are all correctly seated, and wick CA into all the joints and along the join between the upper and lower parts of the middle spar. So what it's saying is this upper and lower spar, glue that in first, and that will keep everything as it should be. So what I'm going to do, to save a lot of time and effort, and you watching me doing it, which will pay you nothing, I am going to wick everything in. See you in a minute. Well, that's all pinned down and wicked in. So what's the next thing to do? Well, the next thing to do is to get these parts S1. They forget to tell you it's on sheet 7. I don't know if you like that, where they don't tell you what sheet number it is. But anyway, what I've done is I've taken the corners off there so you don't get a sharp edge when you come to covering. And you have to make sure that the F, which stands for front, is facing towards the leading edge. You put them in where it's sitting into the slots where it says S1. Now these are a little bit tight. I'm using tweezers. Now this part here will come out if you're not gentle. So just takes a second or two. Get lined up and slot it in. There you go. And they are slightly raised from the rib, but I think they somewhat from the rib, from the spar, but I'm hoping they will follow the contour of the ribs there. I have to put a straight edge on it. So there you go. There's the F for front. Put that in ever so gently. There you go. Push it in hard. So then this spacer, which you must never lose, by the way, you put that in and make sure it's a nice loose fit, and if it is, so you see how that little part there's come out. There you go, pop it back in. In fact, I'll pop that spacer back in and then glue that without gluing the spacer in. That will take almost instantly. Take the spacer out. Oh well, I'll put a bit on the back of there. There you go. Now I can afford to take the spacer out. But I think my finger's stuck to it. There you go. So that's glued in. These are no problem at all. So glue them in. Wipe off any excess. Just put a bit on the front there. Okay, so we're good to go. So the next bit, carefully remove. Now this is 10 steps. This is step 9. Carefully remove the 1/32 leading edge sheet parts BWCL and BWCR from sheet 19. So at least they told us what sheet number it is. That's sheet 19. There you go. So what we're going to do is pop them out. Just cut the tabs there. Now there should be a right and a left. And what I'll do before I pop them out is check with the sheets of paper that they give you. And we'll make sure that we know which one's the right one and which one's the left one. Now when I take this up, I'm going to use the sellotape because the masking tape I don't think was a good idea. Now then, where's that sheet now? Should have had this prepared, shouldn't I? There you go. sheet 19, so BWCL, so L's there, and BWCR is there, so that's right, that's left. Let's take the left one out first. Keep it with the left, this one with the right, and keep this to one side unbroken. Now, as always, just very lightly sand off the nibs. And if you can risk it and take off the brown bit, even better. That'll help it bond, because you've got a clean surface there. You don't have to do this very hard, it's lighter than light really. It's very soft, but soft. Yeah, there you go. And wherever you find a nib, just give it that bit of a rub going on there. Okay, and then that, see if we can line it up. Yeah, it looks like it'll line up all right. And the same with this one. Bit left on that one. Just get that brown off, so it's cleaner. It'll take to the glue, absorb the glue. That's that little bit better. Now, what I think I will do is, I think I will turn this around, and I can actually work from the front to put the sellotape on, which I have hereabouts. There's my sellotape. So let me turn that around. Okay, so as you can see, it's all been unpinned. I've better put a tab on the end of this sellotape, because you want to be able to find the end, don't you? So I put the top leading edge on using sellotape. I made sure it's quite well stuck down. That's the underside of it, and all I'm going to do now is what I've done with all the other wings. It's just to repeat exactly what I did before. I'm going to put some glue in the back edge there. If you want me to, I can change the angle of the camera. Just a second. Yeah, there we go. So this is all I'm doing. I'm just putting a bit of glue at the back there, and just let it go between the gaps. And this is the tightest I can butt this up. And just let that go off. Do the same with the left hand part of the wing. There we go. So you haven't got to put a lot in, just enough to fill that gap. There you go. I'll just let that go off, and then you know what I'm going to do next. I'm going to let it dry, go and get a sponge and some water, which I will do momentarily. I cheated a little bit. Well, so I've watered this down, and I've watered both sides down actually, but actually I did this within about 35-40 minutes of wetting it. It's gone in absolutely superbly, no problems, no issues. So I did the one side, and I've really sort of done this to save time. Now I've re-wetted this one down. In fact, you know what? I think I'll do it again. Let's do it again. It's not going to hurt anything. So here we go. Put the sponge along it. There we go. And then we'll get a roller. Let's dry this bit up here. Get rid of all that water. Excess of waterness. Right. There you go. Put that on there like that. Put that on there like that. And I don't think we'll need to wait too long. Let's see if I can find something else to put on. Yes, why not? Let's have the cup of plenty. We'll have the cup of plenty. There you go. Or the mug of plenty, I should say. Right, so we're going to do that. I'm going to leave that for about half an hour or so. It's quite warm in here, and that actually dries out quite quickly. And then I'll very quickly run through what I've run through before, and then that'll be the end of the bottom wing. The next part after this is they go back to the tailplane, and okay, be interesting to see what they say there. And then we're not far off. It looks like they're on about making the jigs and then mounting the wings, but I wouldn't like to mount the wings unless I've got them covered. But we shall see. Let's see what the booklet brings. And we get to my least favourite part, which will be covering. See you in about 3 seconds. Okay, so to finish off, this is still slightly damp, but it's very, very pliable. So I'm going to do what I did with the other side there. I'm going to start with this rib here and make sure that it actually fits before I even glue anything. Slightly out of focus, I know. There you are. And a little bit of encouragement and it fits. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue in there. Actually, it's more difficult to do, you see, while you've got the camera right in front of you. There you go. That's in. And I put some pressure on there and I wait. I wait a little while. Now, I did promise you some history, didn't I, of the Red Baron. The Red Baron actually failed his first solo flight, and he crashed it. What was he flying now? I think he was flying, he did fly an Eindecker. He crashed an Eindecker, that's for sure. He crashed twice while in training. It's hard to remember actually, but anyway, eventually he did manage to gain his solo license, and he ended up in Volker's squadron, and he was flying a DE2, and otherwise known as an Albatross. Now that's taken. Okay, let's see if we can do another one there. Where's the glue gone? There it is. And we'll just get in there, put a little bit of glue in there, so just like that. Roll it in. There you go. So he was flying an Albatross D2, and he shot down an FE2, a British plane. An FE2, for those who are not initiated, is a pusher. It had like an A-frame at the back, and it had a pilot and observer at the front. The observer was taking photographs and also had a machine gun on a swivel, so it gave it forward firing. I'm not really sure how secure that person would be. They must have had some sort of strap, but you know, aerobatics, when you've got a guy in the front, is not a good idea because he's likely to fall out. But anyway, he shot down an FE2, and then I think from September to November 1916, let's see, the SOM started the 1st of July 1916, so yeah, I think that was the point where the Germans pulled back to the Hindenburg line by that point. So between September and November 1916, he'd actually shot down 10 aircraft. You need 5 aircraft, accredited 5 aircraft. Where's that glue gone here? To become an ace. So he very quickly became an ace. But that was his credited kills. He did, see, Manfred didn't start the war in the German Air Force or the Luftwaffe. He actually started in the cavalry, and he transferred by special request to the Luftwaffe because he said, all I'm doing is just, you know, fetching and carrying, and I'm not in this war to fetch and carry. And so he realised that his future lay in the German Air Force, and he started off as an observer. So his first kill was as an observer. He had a pilot, and he was basically had a machine gun on a pivot in the back seat, and he crawled up behind a 2-seater British observation aircraft. Not quite sure what aircraft it was off the top of my head. This is all from memory. Anyway, so he shot that down, but he wasn't credited with it, and I think that fell behind the British lines. But anyway, where's the glue gone? There it is. Keep losing that glue. There you go. So yeah, he flew a variety of German aircraft. His first kill, as I said, was an FE2, which landed in behind British lines, and he took the risk of landing and going up and inspecting his handiwork, and discovered he'd actually shot up the engine and wounded the pilot and the observer. It was a foolhardy thing to do, but he did it. He was a very brave man. It's said, and I can't confirm or deny, that he had people of the Yasta flying above him and so forth to witness his kills. How true that is, I don't know, but I wouldn't put it past him. Anyway, it's about this time he started ordering silver cups to be made, I think in Berlin. And he had a silver cup made every time he brought somebody down with the date on it. I don't know where those silver cups are. I wonder where they are. It's a good question, actually. They're probably with his family, I expect. I don't know if they're in a museum or not. Be interesting to find that one out, actually. But anyway, I did promise you a little bit of history, and I've been neglecting that. But you know, this is all from a memory and so forth. And when I have been to what the airfield that he took off from, not far from Corby, it's on top of a hill. There's a railway line there. There's a narrow gauge railway line. I'll take you to the top of the hill. First time I went there, I've been there twice. I went by car. Second time I used that railway, and you know, it's quite interesting. But I suppose you got to have an interest in history to appreciate these things. And as I said, I've been to 2 of his grave sites, and the second one was in Freikorps, and the third one's in Berlin, and the fourth one is at his now ancestral home, which is I think now in the province of Poland, I think. But anyway, forget the name of it right now. Might be worth a trip, I think. But I'd like to see those cups for sure. But he's definitely a hunter. I said that the difference between a hunter and anybody else is that anybody else is checking things like their engines and stuff like that, and in more modern times they had parachutes. I think the Germans were allowed parachutes, but the British were not allowed parachutes. They said it shows a lack of moral fibre, jumping. They might be tempted to jump out of their aircraft rather than fight, which I think is a bit of a stupid thing, because a lot of pilots burnt to death because they couldn't get out. You know, there's no way out, so you've lost your pilot. The pilots are hard to replace. It's easy to replace the aircraft, relatively, but you've lost the pilot. You could have learnt his skills even further, honed them even more, made it back to the lines. But don't forget, you know, flying was in its infancy and the army were in charge. In fact, there was the Royal Flying Corps, which is part of the army, I think, and it didn't become the RAF until now. You can correct me if I'm wrong on this. I think it was the 1st of April 1917. Or was it 18? I think it's 1917, 1st of April. Well, no, it was the 1st of April. They become their own independent arm by then, which was a jolly good thing. Of course, then the Navy, they had their Fleet Air Arm after that. And then, of course, they were trying to develop aircraft carriers. Well, they were, of course, you know, the Royal Navy used them for the original purpose, was to fly about, observe and see what they could see over the horizon. Because don't forget, they didn't have radar, they didn't know it was over the top of the horizon. So, as you can see, that's gone quite well. That's the last one. Then you go to the tips here, and you just go one at a time, slightly lift them up, glue them in. So I think that'll do for now, and we are in part 15. We'll be going back to the tail. So steps to complete before covering. Step 1, cut the tailplane, elevate it as hinge slots. Well, I've already done all that malarkey. Don't know why they left it till now, but anyway, there you go. We'll find out in part 15 what's what with that. In the meantime, I'll just glue these down. I mean, it's pretty elementary what you've got to do. These are, you know, this one's got on absolutely no trouble at all. The bottom wing is the easier of the 3 of them. So you've seen some idiot in front of you doing it for you. So, you know, there you go. I'll get these put down, and I will see you in part 14. Thank you very much for taking the time for watching this. Cheerio.